Hello, I'm Johan Falk at Node 1 Scandinavia. This is exercise 13 in the documentation suite exercises, found in Drupal 7, the essentials. And exercise 13 has this user story. It's called Favorite Documentation Pages. As site member, I would like to mark documentation pages as favorites. A list of marked pages should appear as a tab on my user page, and the 5 most recently added should also appear as a block in the sidebar. This is important since it helps me access content I find useful. The how to demo stuff could contain some more details, so let's have a look at those. Log into the site, flag at least 6 documentation pages as favorites. Verify that the 5 most recently added are visible in a side block linking to the respective documentation pages. Verify that the block links to a page listing all 6 documentation pages with links to the respective pages. Verify that this page appears as a tab at the acting user's user page. Let's call that profile page instead. Okay. So, this is pretty similar to the bookmarks view provided by the flag module by default. We're not going to use that one, it wouldn't be very pedagogical. So instead I'm going to start by adding a new flag. I'm going to call it favorite. Favorite. I'm in the habit of typing the British way, not the American way, the US ways, but I'm going to try to stick to US standards right now. We're flagging nodes as favorites. It was only documentation pages, right? Yes, documentation pages only. Favorite documentation. It's not a global flag. Everyone should be able to set their own flags. Flagging text. Mark node title as favorite. Click here to have this documentation appear in your favorite list. And copy that one. Flag message. Node title is now in your favorite list. Unflag link text. Remove node title from your favorite list. Unflag link description. Click here to remove this documentation from your favorite list. Unflag message node title has been removed from your favorite list. Okay. Token replacements, as in the last exercise, you can get these if you install the token module, or you can just learn them by heart, which is perhaps not a very good idea. Anyone who is logged in should be able to use that, this flag, good. And since you can unflag, if you can flag, we don't need the unflag not allowed text. Access by content authorship, no additional restrictions. There is no reason to prevent people from flagging their own content, or the opposite, only flagging their own content. We should only be able to flag documentation pages. Display on node teaser page, on node page, sure, but not on the edit form. That sounds good. JavaScript toggle, great. Save. So now the flag is done. That's the simple part of it. Now let's build a view for this. Add a new view. View name favorites. User tab and a block. User tab page and a block listing documentation pages flagged as favorites. Getting pretty good at writing the O and not OU, don't you think? We're going to list content of type documentation page. Since the flag can only be put on documentation pages, actually let's not restrict this. If we for some reason in the future would like to change this and include more content types, the view will work just fine if we allow all documentation and all content types here. Flag was sorted in newest first. Let's have that unsorted. We're gonna sort by when the flag was added. And if we leave this unsorted, we don't need to remove any sort criteria. Okay, page title, favorites. And again, we're going to use user %/favorites. Display. Yeah, okay, let's do teasers, I guess. Yeah. With links, without comments. Good. 10 at a time. Good. Also create a block. Call it favorites. Let's actually call it recent favorites. An unformatted list of titles with link. That's good. 5 per page. Don't use a pager, but we should instead have a link to the main page for this. Right. This will be interesting. On the page, we need a menu item that is a tab, favorites, view this user's favorite documentation. Going to put that at a 9. Let's actually put it up at 10. That means to the right of what was the previous tab? That was the Friends tab. Right. Next step here, let's save first actually. This is so complex that even I get nervous. Now, the advanced section here. We're gonna use something very similar to what we had in the previous exercise. We're gonna add flag information and then information about who flagged, who put the flag. So we're going to start with flags here had information about the node flag. That brings us every flag object relating to these nodes that we got. Include only flag content, that's okay. Let's call it favorite flag. Or just favorite. No, favorite flag. This is a flag we got, not a favorite. Favorite documentation. You see here we have 2 flags to choose from since we have the bookmarks default flag here. Include flag by any user. Administrative title, favorite flag. And now when we got the flag object in the view, for each row that we get a flag object. Now from the flag object I'm going to get the flagging user. So I have flag here, flags user. Favorite flag, and I'm going to call it flagging user. Flagging user. Okay. So now we have in the view a list of documentation pages. For each documentation page you will also have all the flags put on it, and for every flag we have also the flagging user. Now it's time to put restrictions on this. We have now expanded the available information quite much, and now we're going to limit it down drastically because we're going to add a contextual filter on the user ID. We will require that one of the user objects that we got has a particular user ID. And we only have one user object to select from, that is the flagging user. If we yeah, okay, I'm gonna skip this one right now, come back to that because we're gonna actually use the provide default value here, but not right now. If the default value is provided, if we have a value here, then override the title and set favorite documentation. Well, let's have user wants favorite documentation. This might turn out a bit wrong if the username ends with S, but you can probably find a more clever way of writing this. Specify validation criteria, require that this is a user ID. Good. More, let's call this flagging user ID. Okay, we're almost done. Let's save it for now. I would say the page is actually done now. We will get a tab on every user page where we have favorites. Let's actually... Okay, let's do this then. I'm going into the contextual filter again and saying if we don't have any value in the URL, then give me a page not found. I don't want anyone messing around with my contextual filters, so then I'm just going to shut them out. And I'm also going to say if we don't have any favorites here, I'm going to give you a text saying sorry, you have no favorites. Sorry, no favorites available. This user has not flagged any documentation as favorite. Great. Let's call this empty text. Update. Save. Now, here's an interesting thing. The page is done, the block is not yet done. So I'm going to switch to the block display here. And in the block it actually becomes drastically simpler to display only stuff. Well, the block only displays stuff flagged by the acting user. It doesn't depend on the context where we are watching this watching this list. But since we want to connect this block to the page, we still need this argument, this contextual filter here. So for the block, I'm going to say if we don't have any contextual filter value present for this block only, now I'm overriding, then provide a default value which will be the user ID from the logged in user. And then I'm gonna change the title here to your recent favorites. Oh, I got the U here. Cool. And then there should somewhere here be a more link to use for blocks. Gonna search here more. Yes, there it is. More. That will link the block to the to any page display, the first page display, I think. And send along any arguments, if I'm not much mistaken. I just realized that I haven't specified sort criteria here yet. That's okay. I'm going to do that just in a second, but I'm going to remove the empty text for the block first. Let's try this. I'm not absolutely sure it will work fine. I think I have to override first and then remove it. What happened here? Ah, okay. No, it's fine. Good. Let's now add, finally add the sort criteria. We have the flag available as an object in this view, so we can find all the data brought from the flag, which includes flag time. So let's sort that descending, newest on top, granularity second, and let's call this newest flaggings on top. Alright. And that should be it. This is a pretty complex view, but it will, I think, turn out to work very well. I will show you how it works in a few seconds when I do the demonstration screencast of this. See you there.